The road is long, but it is worth the journey. For a true master of Form 3 is invincible. These were the words of the famed Jedi Master Luminara Unduli, who was truly one of the Jedi Order's greatest. Soresu, also known as the Way of the Mynock, was the third of the 7 classical forms of lightsaber combat. Fittingly to its defensive style, Soresu was also referred to as the Resilience form, and was developed to combat the rising prominence of blaster technology, against which both Makashi and Shicho were of little use. Soresu focused on defending the user from multiple attacks. Much like Makashi, it relied on an economy of motion, both in terms of efficient blade work and minimal energy expenditure. Form 3 utilized momentum and a constant movement of the blade to deflect and redirect attacks, but in turn offered only a limited set of offensive maneuvers, a weakness for which it received heavy criticism from lightsaber wielders of the time. As an answer to this weakness, the offense-heavy forms of Ataru, Gemso, and Juyo would be developed. The ultimate goal of Soresu was, essentially, to outlast the opponent. For this reason, Jedi and Sith who placed a high emphasis on Soresu were often of small stature, lacking the strength and brute force required for some of the more offensively focused lightsaber forms. One such individual would be Darth Zannah, the second of Darth Bane's Sith lineage. Upon taking Zannah as his apprentice, Darth Bane told her the following: "You lack the physical strength required for the powerful attacking strikes of Gemso. You must rely on quickness, cunning, and most of all, patience to best your enemies." In this way, Bane's interpretation of Form 3 paralleled the principles he had made as Dark Lord of the Sith. Over the years, Zannah became a proficient lightsaber duelist, capable of creating near impenetrable defensive barriers through the use of her double-bladed lightsaber. By utilizing this style of combat, Zannah was able to hold her own against multiple opponents, even against those of far greater size. This was evidenced during the Battle of Tython, when she took on the Jedi Knights Saro Zaj and Johun Athone single-handedly, and managed to come out of the encounter victorious. However, Zannah's explicit focus on the defensive style of Soresu would serve her poorly in situations that saw her as the primary aggressor. Because of this limitation, Zannah would fail to kill her master Bane in several occasions. During their final battle, Zannah would once again become overwhelmed by her master's powerful attacks, and eventually resort to Sith sorcery, amplified in effect by Ambria's Force Nexus, to defeat Bane and take the mantle of Sith Master for herself. But despite Zannah's incredible proficiency in Form 3, others would rise to surpass her in the eons to come. One such being would be the great Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the greatest lightsaber duelists of his time. As much as Dooku was the reincarnation of Makashi itself, Obi-Wan was as such for Soresu. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is the master of Soresu. In fact, at one point just before the conclusion of the Clone Wars, Mace Windu acknowledged Obi-Wan as such. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the one Jedi in all of the Order's venerated history to completely encompass all Form 3 has to offer. In this way, he is the quintessential user of Soresu. After Qui-Gon Jinn's death at the hands of the Sith assassin Darth Maul, Obi-Wan would temporarily abandon the studies of Ataru, the fourth form of lightsaber combat, and begin studying the defensive Soresu. Eventually, his preferred combat style would become a hybrid of both forms, utilizing Form 3 sequences to compensate for Form 4's lack of defensive maneuver, a weakness that had led to the death of his master. At his peak, Obi-Wan Kenobi's blast deflection skills were said to be so finely honed to the point where he could, quote, literally walk unscathed through what was described as hornet swarms of blaster fire, single-handedly deflecting blasts from all directions simultaneously. His blade-to-blade combat was also a sight to behold, as Kenobi often molded his form to fit the weaknesses of his opponents. Against General Grievous in particular, Kenobi would demonstrate what can only be described as a perfection of Form 3, utilizing an intricate pattern of blocks and parries to counter Grievous's mechanically powered attacks, which had been the downfall of many great Jedi in the past. As a practitioner of Form 3, Kenobi also subscribed to the idea of placing himself within the eye of the storm, maintaining, quote, a calm center, undistracted and undisturbed by the conflict around them. This mentality eventually led to Kenobi's victory over the newly dubbed Darth Vader on the volcanic planets of Mustafar. Using the Jedi hero turned Sith Lord's frustration and overconfidence against him, Kenobi managed not only to defeat, but dismember Vader, who had in the past been described as a more powerful duelist. When Kenobi once again faced Darth Vader on the Death Star, 17 years into Palpatine's reign, his skills had, understandably, fallen off somewhat. Even so, he managed to hold his own against Vader's powerful Form 5. But rather than continue a losing fight, Kenobi opted to sacrifice his physical self and become one with the Force. Characterized by patience, quickness, subtlety, and a masterful use of blade work, practitioners of Soresu were, in essence, an impenetrable wall of defense, and were only limited by the boundaries of their own potential. And that is the way of Form 3. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.